Test 1, 2.
Future. Colorado wins with clean energy. Call Congressman Hurd and thank him for supporting all of the above.
Can everybody online on the Teams meeting hear us okay here in the room?
I hear you fine, yes.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, folks, I have 7:02. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. And we've done tech checks, correct? If not, can someone let me know and out there in what was formerly known as Zoom land? You did it already?
Got us. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All board members are present. So with that, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, with that, we'll move into additions, deletions, or corrections to our agenda. I do have some. First one, item 6I, we need to add and other employee matters. And then I'd like to move 6I after 9, so people don't, because we'll be excusing everyone out of the room for executive session. So that way, when we come back, you're not having to wait out in the hall. And then we have item 7A. Do you have a proposal? We're going to move 7A to. Did you want to move that for before our business items? The 7A is the Reg 40.
Yes, that would be fantastic if we could move that up.
In front of the business items? Okay. So yeah, we'll propose to move 7A right after item 5. Okay, are there any other additions, deletions, or corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the agenda as so modified.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the agenda as it's been modified. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Item number 3, our consent agenda, our minutes from March 6th. Are there any corrections?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a correction.
Okay.
This would be 6B, 2024 audit Logan and Associates engagement letter. So it reads, the board discussed the need to have assurance of a completion timeline for the audit. I think it would be more accurately described as the board added a deadline to the contract for execution. Any questions?
Staff, does that coincide with what was recorded?
Yeah, we can make that change.
Okay.
I have a correction on subparagraph 7C, where it reads, the town manager presented various statics about the town. Shouldn't that be statistics?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other corrections? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move that the minutes be approved as corrected.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as corrected. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that one carries. Moving on to our reports, we'll start on my right. Trustees. Trustee Walker. Trustee Ives. Trustee Bell.
Just a short one. The town manager, Paul Yingling, Chair of Fire Mitigation Committee, and myself met with My High Youth Corps, CUSP, and representing the town with a three-way partnership for work that'll be done via the COSWAP grant this summer along Thomas Trail. So this is continuation of the work that's been going on for the last 3 years, and things are in order to proceed with 10 weeks of work this summer, starting in May.
Okay. Anything else? Take one down, pass it around. What I'm passing out to the trustees is our I'm trying to keep track of our grants. And, obviously we got the state did notify us that they have set aside $1 million in matching funds for the Ute Pass Avenue Bridge. We had applied for 250 hours worth of work to do a stormwater management plan. We did not get that, but we have several others that we are applying for. And so, yeah, there's plenty of grants we're trying to get. We only expect to get a percentage, so we'll see how these all turn out. Hoping to hear back from Fishing is Fun here in April to see if they're going to fund help us fund the restroom upgrade down to gazebo. We did participate in a telecon with their board, and I thought it went fairly well. One of the key items of it, though, in my opinion, was our relationship with Ute Pass Elementary. And so still hopeful for that one. The Logan and Company contract, basically Logan and Company came back and said, no way, they couldn't sign up to what we were wanting because too much of it is basically on our backs. Town manager did send out a notification to the board, and after that notification that we were going to go ahead and sign it, I went ahead and signed it. And they are pursuing it now. And with that, move on to committee reports.
I'm going to report on behalf of Marshal Sean Goings. Over the last month, Marshal's department had 30 total calls for service. Outside agencies assisted us 2 times. We assisted outside agencies 3 times. They completed their annual training. Everybody passed. And the citizens contact upload has been completed. The reserve officers work 28 hours. That's all we have.
Did we have any committee reports that they wanted to do other than the business items we have?
Well, I do have more staff reports, actually. I have Dustin with Public Works.
Yeah, all right. I was asking for committee reports first, so.
Oh, okay. Sorry about
Any
that.
other committee reports?
I do have FMAC reporting.
Okay.
Lisa Heisinga.
I'm here tonight representing FMAC, and we need your help. Our committee wants to have a firefighter appreciation event on June 14. It's something our committee has been thinking about doing for a while now. Our vision for the event has become more focused and frankly felt more necessary to do. We want to facilitate the fire department and town's common goals, keeping neighbors and ourselves safe. And who does that more selflessly than our volunteer fire department? As we live with the continual threat of fire, we've come to learn that more than ever, we are all in this together. FMAC sees this event as an opportunity for education. For example, firefighters might show us all how to use a fire extinguisher or fire blanket. They will show us the equipment they use. They will give us a tour of their beautiful building that the community helped build with their tax dollars. It's likely kids will be able to experience what it's like to touch or climb on a fire truck. Maybe even the big kids among us will want to join the department. For FMAC's mission and goals, we would like to provide signups for home assessments, promote chipper days, promote our Black Ambassador program, and expand the FMAC database. Our education efforts will be assisted by the Red Cross, including RevDar, who doubles as a Red Cross volunteer, along with experts in fire mitigation. We hope that this will include past firefighters and past FMAC members. This morning, I thought I better know more precisely. Sorry. Why our town needs to show our appreciation to our volunteer firefighters. So I called a friend on our fire department and asked her a few questions. She told me that firefighters respond to calls that are severe and traumatic in nature. People call you on their worst day, she said. I found out that a lot of their time is involved in training. Each Thursday night, they have a training session lasting about 2 hours in the areas of medical, wildland fire, structural fires, and traffic accidents. Obtaining certifications in those areas takes 5 to 6 months, training nights and weekends to complete. These cost the firefighters an initial out-of-pocket cost of around $1,200. You'll be glad to know that those costs are reimbursed to them once they pass their state and national tests. Firefighters also pay out of pocket for extra gear for the wildland firefighting. FYI, our department has about 12 firefighters. 3 of them were just voted in as active members last month. Our congratulations to them. I also asked my friend what the rewards were to being a volunteer firefighter. She said she enjoyed the sense of helping neighbors, learning a new skill set, and the sense of family within the department and keeping each other safe. We'd love to get to know our firefighters better and learn how we can help them. You can help us do that. We want to get as many folks as possible at this event. Ways to do that will be kids' games, a bake sale, and maybe our biggest draw, a hot dog brat stand, including chips, drinks, and maybe even ice cream sundaes. We plan on reaching out to the community for in-kind donations of their time and surprise, surprise, baked goods. Bottom line, we are requesting up to $560 to fund 92 to 128 meals and also banners for the promotion of this and other FMAC events. And before you have a breakdown of the costs for food and promotional things. Thank you for the consideration of funding this event. Do you have questions? Paul can help me answer too. Oh, 560. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Any other committee reports? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised, nothing on Teams.
Nothing coming in from Teams.
I'm gonna have a hard time remembering this Teams and not Zoom. Okay, with that, we'll proceed on to staff reports.
I have Dusty McLean from Public Works.
Hi, Dustin McLean, Public Works Department. Report for the month of March. As far as roads go, we got 6 inches of snow throughout the month. Brings the season total to 63 inches, 42 inches shy of the accumulation totals last year at this time. We still might get it. Material, as far as other roadside activities, we hauled a lot of material from Creekside Parking and Spruce Avenue Triangle for disposal at the gravel pit across the highway. I also got scheduled for a mag chloride treatment for the roads starting the beginning 2 weeks of June. As far as parks go, the usual biweekly trash dog station pickup, it's going to start picking up a little bit more as the season progresses. Valerie has been doing wedding prep at the gazebo. She'll go out there the day before and clean up goose poop and make it look nice for the wedding goers. She's also been doing the bear-proof trash cans throughout the parks and the towns, which we did move throughout different places. We could move them some more, but per recommended by the Parks, Recs, and Trails Committee, this is where they sit right now. We did fill a beaver hole, which presented a little bit of a fall issue next to the east side of the pond by the playground. Shouldn't be an issue unless we get some gnarly rain. We did open up the pond diverter, clear the ice at the beginning of March, get some fresh water flowing through there. And we did discover a curb stop and a meter pit in our Stilling Basin site for future irrigation purposes. Our equipment, we got a couple new things. We got a new push mower, which is definitely gonna do justice to the old one, old and beat up. We also got a demolition saw, which is gonna help us do cutting culvert pipes and road cuts for asphalt patch. And we got the equipment, all of our plow trucks desalted and pressure washed. Town hall, usual weekly cleanup and janitorial duties. Valley also cleaned, pressure washed all the salt sand off of the parking lot. Kind of a slip hazard right now, so that's good. And our CDL training is ongoing. Hopefully we should get Kelly tested up at the end of this month and get the permit turned into a CDL. So that's about all I got. Any questions?
Do you have the mechanical integrity test scheduled for the water tap at Hotel Park?
Mechanical integrity?
Yeah. Turn on the water, see where it leaks.
Yeah. We're gonna, until we don't get any, we don't have that, no. We're gonna probably do that when we do the irrigation across the street at the gazebo park. Get both water sources turned on. We'll have to call you at CS Utilities to come out and actually physically unlock the meter pit and turn the curb stop on, since that's their property. Everything after the meter is ours. So if the meter is defective or the curb stop is defective, they will replace that at their cost. Anything after the meter pit into our horse head or spigot valve, will be on us.
Yeah, I understand the process. I just want to make sure we have a date that we can look forward to in preparation for any other repairs that may have to be made in order to get water to the park.
When do you need the water on at the park?
I don't have a date for that.
Okay.
I would recommend no earlier than May 15.
I was gonna say, beginning of May, we can start working around that.
Yeah.
When we start getting the water turned on at Gazebo Park and get the irrigation fixed over there, our next stop will be right up on the hillside, so.
Yeah.
Beginning of May.
Maybe the same time you do the pool.
Yep.
Probably.
Thank you.
Yep, for sure. Anything else?
Questions? Not seeing any other
Nope.
questions, so thank you.
Yep, thank you all.
Appreciate
Appreciate it.
I do have a request for both of these reports. Please, no more green text. Just make it black. It's hard to read.
And Dusty, my apologies. You were part of the representing the town when we were talking to CUSP and Mile Youth Corps. So thank you for your participation and being a part of that.
Yep, absolutely. More like a fly on the wall, just to make sure we get everything on our end covered. So
Thank you.
yeah, I appreciate that, John.
Okay, moving on.
Up next, I have Town Manager Caleb Patterson.
We've got a pretty busy agenda here, so I'll just go over a few that I want to touch on. So the audit reporting, the audit checklist was sent in by staff, and right now we're getting hands on all the information and turning that in. CDS funding has been sent in, and RTA funds, Rural Tribal Assistance, for the engineering on the bridge that has been held off for now. And I'm waiting on the state to give us some dates on the reopening. Thank you.
Here we have a profit and loss report from Victoria Capacci, our bookkeeper. We don't have revenues in here yet, so this was just kind of what we could get ready and slip in here just to give you some visuals. So
Yeah, to me, anything that would be over 25% at this, because this is like the quarter, And so anything over 25%, and unless it's just a one-time beginning of year thing, we need to kind of keep an eye on.
And after this,
Hold on. I have questions about the
Sure, my bad.
report. Is Victoria, our CPA, is she the one responsible for generating our report here? Is it, who's got their name on it?
Well, at the end of the day, it's on me. So
So I have some comments I'd like to make.
please.
So questions to start with. I'm comparing the numbers that you have here with our 2025 budget. And let's start with the total revenues. And the total revenues for the board approved 2025 budget is approximately 822,000.
Compared to last year's quarter? Or is this, these budgeted or audited figures?
The total income figure that you're showing on this statement is 836,000. Can you explain the difference?
We haven't consolidated income, so that's why income isn't there. We have our expenses, we just don't have the incomes yet. So you'd have to scroll to that for me to look at that if you could.
Well, the total income is on page 2. And it says $836,625. Our budget has a different number.
That 36 grand figure? Am I looking at that right? Is that 36?
836.
That's 836? Okay, I'll inquire about that.
So just to make it short, the expenses don't match up either, total expenses.
You got it. Right.
There's also budget items that have been added.
Mm-hmm.
We can also go to the percentages.
So we're looking at our chart of accounts, not our budget. So
What?
it's going to look different than our budget. Right now, we're looking at the chart of accounts. So if it looks like something is added, it's probably because it's been a subgroup of what you see on the budget.
It's just to make it short, there's things that are on here that are not on the budget.
Okay.
And there are things on the budget that are not on here.
Gotcha.
Okay. If you go down to the percentage charts, you will also find some disparate. Pardon me?
Yes.
So we have blank lines. Let's take road and bridge Teller County. It's a blank. There's no percentage in there, and yet there's an expense in the budget. So that's an error. And there's numerous other blank lines that would demonstrate an error as well. And we go down to the bottom line, and that is the income. See if I can scroll down here. Yeah, percentage income. Does that look right? $2,645%.
We're scrolling there. What page?
Last page.
Line. Yeah, again, we haven't consolidated incomes just yet, so
But why do you have that number there?
I'll inquire about it. I'll ask
Oh,
about that.
this is just a cursory look, and this is full of errors. Why would you present that to us?
Yeah, again, so we wanted to, really our goal was to show you what we spent. We haven't consolidated our income, so at least what we
It's
could
not
show you what
reliable.
we
It can't,
what we
it's not
spent.
reliable because it's not matching up with the 2025 budget.
Again, we're looking at the chart of accounts, not the budget. Right now I have to balance that 30,000 feet in the air view that the board would like to look at the ballot or budget compared to that 10,000. So what we've come up with so far, and again, since we haven't had monthly budgeting in the board for years now, we'll put something in front of you. You'll tell us what to clean up. We'll start to fine tune these things as we go along. So I apologize that there's a lot messed up, but
Manager
we'll get it
Patterson,
fixed.
how could you not look at that number on total income and know something went right with it?
Well, I'm prepared to explain it.
We'll explain it.
I just told you a couple of times, sir.
It's an error.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
I don't have a traditional clerk report, but I sent an email about a personal matter. I'm having a family emergency and my mom's not doing well. I'm gonna replace myself and be here for you guys until we find that good replacement. So I don't really have a timeline. And I'm working with Caleb and the mayor to transition out.
You'll definitely be missed, that's for sure. I know we're not rid of you yet, but yep, definitely be missed. Do we have
Yeah.
any more staff reports?
I do, just tentative on that. I think it was about late June. So we can expect Bo here till about late June. It just depends on how the hiring process goes. So, and thank you, Bo, for your time here at Green Mountain Falls.
Okay, is that it for staff reports?
It is.
Okay, we'll move next into our public comment. We do 3 minutes a speaker. I've got a little timer app up here. And so do we have anyone that would like to make public comment in the audience? I believe we have one.
Rocco Blasi, 10955 Belvedere Ave. Bo, I'm sorry about your mother. You've been a ray of sunshine here. And, well, I think we know all rays of sunshine start with your mom. So God bless you and your mom. A couple of comments about the agenda tonight, the fee schedule. I was a little concerned that there was fireworks sales in the fee schedule. And so that concerns me, given the wild threat to our community. So I'd ask that be considered to be removed. There's some planning, land use, and architectural review numbers and fees in there that have not come in front of the Planning Commission. So I'd ask you to table that discussion to get the advice of the Planning Commission on that. And I was a little confused by the Board of Adjustment agenda item, where it looks like the proposal is to have the trustees be the Board of Adjustment. It doesn't make sense to me in case a Board of Trustees decision needs to be appealed, you would also be the Board of Adjustment. And so I just wonder if that passed legal review. It doesn't really pass the sniff test with me. If I'm an applicant and my application gets denied by the trustees, my only appeal is to go back to the trustees, and now they're the Board of Adjustment. So I was confused by that. So that's my comments.
We have others in the audience. Okay, moving on to anyone out in Teams land.
Nothing coming in from there.
Okay, with that, that'll complete our first public comment item. And then with our modification, I think we'd like to go to item, it's a Regulation 43 discussion. And is there someone here who would like to? Okay, yeah, please introduce yourself and.
Good evening. I am Kat McGarvey. I am the Environmental Health Division Director. My previous position was Water Quality Program Manager for El Paso County Public Health. I do have my colleague Katie Hutchinson here as well, who is now the Water Quality Program Manager or Division Manager for our division as well. I was asked to come here today and provide an update on Regulation 43. Regulation 43 was recently heard by the Water Quality Control Commission on March 10th. They did approve Regulation 43 at that level. The effective date for that is yet to be determined. It is still going through the final version of the reg to be approved with an effective date. But essentially, once that is approved, El Paso County Public Health will then have no more than a year to amend our current Chapter 8 regulations to meet or exceed those existing regulations or those amended regulations for 43. The big topic that's pertinent to everybody in this room in Green Mountain Falls is the fact that now moving forward, when a property is sold or a cesspool is discovered on any property as part of the resale process, it will have to be removed, abandoned, or brought into conforming condition. We understand we are no strangers to this area up here. We've operated in this area for a very long time. I have been with El Paso County Public Health for a little over 11 years now in this role and working in the on-site wastewater treatment industry. We routinely have to be very creative up here. We are often in positions where these lots are super small. Luckily, everybody here has municipal water and there's no wells to contend with. Otherwise, that gets even trickier. So there are some options available to us. We've routinely had to be very creative up in this area. We understand and recognize that cesspools are a part of the community up here. For those cesspools, I'm sure many of you are aware, but it really is a hole in the ground where both solids and liquids go, and the liquids eventually seep out. They provide very minimal treatment because of the depth and the lack of oxygen in there in those entities, so they do not provide very good treatment. And we are concerned with groundwater. Groundwater is what is, eventually ends up as drinking water. And a fun fact, once the water leaves Mountain Spring and it makes its way to a ocean, it passes through a human body a minimum of 7 times. So we have an obligation to be sure that these are treating effluent and not just disposing and getting rid of it. Now, again, we understand these are very tough, challenging lots. Many of them are less than 1/4 of an acre, which presents a real problem. The soil's not great up here. It's usually high rock content soil, which brings other issues for treatment as well. So all that to say, we are very committed to being creative. In the 2 years that we've been working through this regulation revision, we've communicated that to all of our industry members. We've communicated that to all of the realtors that we've talked to as well. We're going to be creative. We're going to figure out how to work through each property individually. There will not be able to be a blanket, like this is how we're going to handle it, because each property is unique. We're going to have to work through those as they come up and as we cross that bridge. And there was an adjustment to that reg that allowed potential for variances to allow the cesspools to remain. Those are all going to be individually assessed. We're going to have to work through those on a case-by-case basis, but they will be very limited in nature, and it will only be if there's no possible alternative, including at minimum putting a septic tank in front of that cesspool. I'll pause there. That's a lot of information, but I'm happy to take questions.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that the regulation allows for the local board of health to actually determine which title transfers would be made applicable to. Has El Paso County Um, are they leaning one direction or another? Are they kind of leaning towards all? Or are they leaning towards potentially where if it's transfer to a family member where they, because the reg actually says it's up to the local board of health on even if they do it. And so are they planning it across the board for all child transfers, or will there be basically some exceptions based upon the type of title?
So that's a great question. In Regulation 43, there are several areas of that regulation that are opt-in or opt-out. El Paso County Public Health has been opted into the property sale program since 2014 with an effective date of 2015. So this has been an ongoing, it's been 10 years now. We are also evaluating that program as part of this regulation revision. And currently, although our regulation doesn't specifically state this, and it will be an amendment moving forward, it was an afterthought to the reg previously. But if it's an in-family, direct family transfer, so like mother to son, daughter, that type of a family transfer, we don't require those to go through property sale right now. And so I imagine that to remain. And there are many counties across the state who do that. But we will work to clarify that in our upcoming reg. So right now, there's no approved effective date for those regulations. The OWTS coordinator at the state level who oversees that process is retiring effective Thursday, which is a major loss for our industry as well. They're working through the hiring process on that to be determined when they get that position filled. So it appears that the effective date may be sometime in June. That then gives us a year from that date to implement it in El Paso County, which I don't foresee taking a year. It will probably take maybe 4 to 6 months for us to implement that on our end.
To septic system, a septic tank in front of a cesspool. Does a septic tank in front of a cesspool constitute an acceptable system per this regulation?
Yes. So adding a tank in front of the cesspool effectively turns the cesspool into a seepage pit. While seepage pits are also in that same category of providing limited treatment in the soil area, it does provide an aspect of anaerobic treatment within the tank, which allows a little bit more. At least there's some level of treatment there. Correct. Absolutely.
Do you know how many cesspools you're in?
I don't. I can tell you there's well over 34,000 on-site systems in El Paso County and probably another 1,000 to 1,500 that we don't know about. The number of them that are cesspools, I don't have that answer for you. This is one of those areas, this area, the area behind the Broadmoor, those are high areas for cesspools. Out east, not so much, but unfortunately, this area was not really intended to be lived in year round. They were cabins where you'd come use them for a couple weeks, couple months, and then they would be able to dry out over a longer period of time. That's not the world we live in or the reality we're facing. So we're going to be creative in how we handle those. Yes, Miss Ann. It will have to go and be heard before the Board of Health. So the process for that is you would turn in an application, we would deny it because it doesn't meet the regulation standards. The onus is then on the property owner to demonstrate that it would not impair or negatively or adversely impact public health more than it already quote unquote is. And then that's where it's not me anymore. It would be Katie as the division manager supporting that variance with engineer justification. So in this area, most of these homes are 2 to 3 bedrooms, so 1,000 gallons, which is typically about 12 feet by 15 feet by about 48, so 4 feet in depth, I believe. I don't remember the dimensions off the top of my head. They do, but they're single compartment tanks and the regulation requires dual compartment tank for purposes of treatment. So, but if it's something, again, if it's something where we have to be creative and that's part of it, and a single compartment tank may fit that, even a single compartment tank where we hold the solids before the cesspool is better than not, right? So it's something that we would evaluate if that's a feasible solution, an alternative requested. Yes. So unfortunately, El Paso County does not recognize Regulation 86, which is the gray water regulation. And that essentially is everything other than toilet waste for the most part, right? So, and I can tell you that Regulation 86 is almost unattainable for homeowners to put a system in that meets that regulation. And it's as unattainable as it is for homeowners. It's almost even more impossible to regulate right now because the regulation is not clear. It's not well written and the technology is not at that level yet. Incinerator toilets, eco-john systems, those types of toilets are out there. Compostable toilets. Words are really hard. Sorry. Those are all still things that are in our regulations. They have standards they have to meet, but you're right. It does not negate the need to install a full conforming system. So the answer to that is maybe it could be a viable option. And something we can consider as part of a variance, I would imagine. So I can't tell you yes or no for sure, because again, we have to have data and engineer justification. There's numerous steps in that process that we would have to evaluate that. Right, even now, yep. If the cesspool enters a state of failure in any way, it has to be repaired with a conforming system. Yeah, and it's super challenging here because you also have mountain springs that you run into groundwater a lot and we have to have a certain separation too, so. Yeah.
Apologies for folks who are on Teams. You're probably not hearing the questions. Hopefully you can kind of ascertain what the questions were from the response. Okay, do we have any more questions? Kat, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
You bet. Okay, with this, we'll move on to our business items. Our first item of business is item 6A, Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation. And I believe we have a couple individuals here to talk about that.
I do have Shannon from DHS.
Is it blue? Okay. Can you hear me?
The blue light on?
Blue light is on.
Okay, good.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon Arrington. I'm here with Commissioner Bill Wysong. He is gracious enough to come here and talk about the proclamation regarding the Child Abuse Prevention Month. I am an assistant manager at the Department of Human Services in El Paso County. I have been there for 10 years, solely working in child welfare. So I'll read a few comments and then I will let the commissioner do the proclamation. April is a time to recognize the important role we play in preventing child abuse and neglect. Child safety is the cornerstone of a strong community. In 2024, 23,497 calls were made to the Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Hotline regarding concerns for children in El Paso County. Not every call resulted in a case. which is fantastic, because that call may have connected a family to critically needed assistance and support. We don't expect callers to know exactly what child abuse and neglect looks like. They only need to have a concern for a child. Every bit of information can help caseworkers see the big picture of what a family is experiencing. Staff at the El Paso County Department of Human Services are dedicated to ensuring the safety, permanency, and well-being of the children in our community. This critical work would not be possible with the ongoing supports of our community partners and the citizens of Green Mountain Falls and surrounding areas. Thank you for standing with us in preventing child abuse.
Well, again, thank you very much for allowing El Paso County to read and propose the proclamation recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is the month of April. Whereas every child in our community deserves to be valued, nurtured, and protected so they can grow into healthy, thriving individuals, and every child is entitled to feel safe, secure, loved, and whereas child abuse and neglect are serious issues affecting every segment of our community with long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that can shape a child's future and in turn the future of our country and our state. And whereas strong families are the foundation of a strong community, and all parents, caregivers need support at times, as providing early help to families is far less costly, both financially and emotionally, than healing from trauma after it occurs. And whereas we can prevent child abuse and neglect by working together to strengthen the five protective factors in families' lives: parental resilience, social connections, concrete support in times of need, knowledge of parenting and child development, and social and emotional competence in children. And whereas child abuse prevention is not the responsibility of a single agency, but of an entire community, including human service agencies, public health organizations, schools, faith groups, law enforcement, the medical community, businesses, nonprofits, and most importantly, caring individuals who take the time to support children in families. And whereas community leaders, policymakers, and elected officials play an important role in building a safe community for children by understanding the programs and policies that support child maltreatment prevention, listening to parents' needs, and shaping community planning through the lens to build healthier communities. And whereas by fostering a culture where every child is cherished, every family is supported, and every adult recognizes their role in preventing child abuse, we can create a safer, stronger, and more compassionate community. And whereas everyone has the power to contribute to a brighter future for children, whether lending a helping hand to a parent for strong family policies, or simply being a trusted adult in a child's life. Now, therefore, the mayor of Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, hereby proclaims April as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Green Mountain Falls. No matter where we live, we each have a role to play in protecting children, strengthening families, and ensuring our community is a place where all children can thrive. On this first day of April 2025 at Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, the Board of Trustees, Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, by Mayor Todd Dixon. And it is my privilege as your county commissioner to help Shannon and the DHS present this. It is an important issue. 23,000 calls is a huge number. And I think if we all think about it and lend that support, it's something that I hope these numbers can come down. So with that, between myself and probably more Shannon, if you have any questions.
Trustees, questions?
I just have a comment. I want to thank you personally for taking your time this evening to come up here and make the presentation to us. It means a lot. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
You want to talk about your bouquet?
Oh, yeah, please. If anybody has children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, anybody, or you can complete it. These are our notes. These are, this is what we use for National Prevention Month, Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so they're just fun and whimsical, and that's what we, and innocent. And I think that's what we are hoping that our kids in El Paso County, as well as all over the country, experience rather than trauma and hurt. So.
And we, after we read the proclamation at the Board of County Commissioners this morning, we probably maybe 100 around the Centennial Hall. Whether they survive the wind, who knows? Someone downwind will be the recipient. So again, thank you very much. We appreciate coming out and talking with you.
Okay, thank you both for coming out. Again, it's really appreciated on our end. Thank you, Commissioner, for your time on coming out as well. Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion that we approve this declaration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to item 6B, the ordinance on accessory dwelling units. First item is a public hearing. Let me get to. Okay, that's the ordinance there. So it is 7:55 and we'll commence the public hearing. And if there's anyone who would like to speak on this, please feel free to approach the microphone.
Nothing coming in from Teams.
Okay. Trustee members, do anyone want to comment? I'm just waiting for the timer to go so that it's not the exact same time. Okay, well, I've got 7:56 and change. We'll close the public hearing and I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the ordinance on the ADUs unless the trustees would like to have any further discussion. I think the main item is that we added an item, a definition for tiny home. Everything still has to be on a foundation. Did I get that correct? Yes, okay.
I move that we approve this resolution for the ADUs.
Have a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Do we approve Town of Green Mountain Falls ordinance number 2024-03 and ordinance amending chapter 12 of the Green Mountain Falls Municipal Code regarding accessory dwelling units? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I oppose.
4-1. Okay. Our next item is ordinance 2025-02, the Board of Adjustment. We did have a comment earlier from the public. Could we maybe see if, are you prepared to address that comment?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of the day, you guys are going to be the ones that make the decision for the town. You guys are the appellant body, and you act in a quasi judicial manner. There's 4 ways you guys can act, and that is one of them. I would advise, I'm sure the attorney would advise, to have it be the Board of Trustees. Now, if we could find volunteers to, pick up the Board of Adjustments, that'd be great. But, trying to find volunteers to fill in a position that maybe would meet once a year is going to be very hard to do. So that is why I did suggest to the attorney to put in the wording to make it the Board of Trustees.
Are you saying that this passed the town attorney's review?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I see some apparent conflicts in it. Just read the Muni Code, what exists today. It's not addressed. If a board has to be, a member has to be removed, then it goes back to the trustees to remove them. So I see an obvious conflict of interest there when the board is playing as both boards. How do you resolve that?
Could you be a little bit more specific on that? So if you guys wanted to remove a board member,
there's a provision in the Muni Code for removing a member of that board, and it requires the trustees.
Okay, you know what I can do with this? I can bring it back to the attorney, mention that, tell him that we missed something, and do better.
While we're at it, can we? I'd like to refer it to the Planning Commission and have them give their input. That's their specialty.
This is not land use. Board of Adjustment is actually a statutory item. It's not land use.
The Planning Commission?
No, sorry.
No, sorry, what?
The Board of Adjustment is a statutory item. It's not a Planning Commission item.
Weren't they instrumental in rewriting the Muni Code?
For land use sections only. That's the limit of their stuff. Their actual limit is.
I know, I've read their responsibility, but were they not responsible for doing the rewrite?
Of the land use.
Just through, well, how did the other
that came in front of the
changes
board.
occur?
Those came in front of the board.
The board was responsible for authoring those.
Yeah.
Okay, I was not here for
that. That's what would happen when they did. I think Trustee King was here. Those came straight to the board.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that information. And then we'll deal with the conflict that's already there in them.
And just, okay, I've been on planning. I've been in some kind of government now since 2020 and around here, and I haven't seen Board of Adjustment used yet.
No, so why did it come up?
It's a statutory item.
Well, it was that way in April when I brought it up. When I first came aboard.
Yeah, it's a statutory item that I think we're trying to clean up. So.
Yeah, again, I would advise against.
Let's just
solicit hands.
Solicit for some volunteers. That's what it was meant to be, not the board.
Can I get a vote on that? Would the board like that?
We can always entertain a motion to basically not approve this, and then it would revert back to soliciting. That's my understanding. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah, we'd have to table it, and then we'd have to. Want to go ahead and say something? Okay,
Well,
we'll have to table it and then come up with a new motion to look for volunteers.
Is that not in our code already?
I would have to look at the municipal code.
So yeah, it sounds like tabling. Sounds like we need a little bit more info.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work the way it is just because of, unless we change more of the Muni Code on how to replace an advisory board member, or an adjustment board member.
Just for procedure's sake, may I recommend that we vote on tabling the ordinance, and then maybe you guys could send questions in writing to the town manager that can be forwarded on to town legal.
I'll make the motion that we table this resolution.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and second. Been moving and seconded. We table this resolution. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on. Next item is getting into to these directives. First one up is on the Stilling Basin. I believe these were authored by one of our trustees, so I'll let him.
All right, so this first directive for the Stilling Basin has a fairly long, a moderately long history in that through emails that started a month or plus ago, was asking about if there was going to be any modifications that were needed to the Stilling Basin prior to its beautification project. Want to make sure that any changes are made in advance and that they're incorporated within the beautification project. And that also the Stilling Basin is working. That's the positive thing. It is collecting sediment. It needs to be dredged maybe once a year or less. It's been attempted once and there were some learnings. So just want to make sure that we have a procedure for being able to proceed with the routine maintenance and also that it's consistent with whatever changes get made. So that's the reason for the directive.
I have a question. Does the procedure that's included in our packet suffice to meet this? The last page.
I think that's a collective decision whether it's sufficient. I guess step one was we've talked about about initiating directives and how that would occur, and this too, the format has evolved. So this is a pretty straightforward form that's not providing a lot of background information, just very direct in terms of what it is asking for and the due dates, and then any kinds of obstacles that are discovered along the way can be detailed and fed back to Board of Trustees. So I guess first thing is just sort of format, whether it's meeting all of our criteria is what the Board of Directors needs, and then then getting more specific of whether or not this directive is going to provide value for the town.
And you came up with the deliverables in conjunction with these guys, or it was just?
No, well, again, so two things are happening simultaneously. One is the beautification. So I want to make sure, so I know only through reading minutes, et cetera, that PRT is progressing and they're working towards those, towards their project end. And so those deliverables are meant to, if they need to be modified, they need to be modified, but they need to be put in front of beautification steps so that we're working in the right sequence. So I'm not fixed to the sequence other than we get head to tail operations in the right order.
I like the accountability aspect. I'm just, I just want to make sure we don't give somebody something they can't do.
Right.
And then what?
Right. And so that's why it's important that there's no surprises here. So I've been, this even got started with Becky. So, my first emails are quite a few months old. Then more recently letting Caleb know, okay, this is coming.
Mm-hmm.
This is the direction I want to take and trying to figure out the mechanism and making sure and starting a process. But I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
We can't give people undeliverable challenges.
Right. Well, I'm just wondering if it's maybe better if we come up with what we want and then we get feedback from the involved parties as far as reasonable timelines.
And
I can't do some of that. I thank you for that, both of you gentlemen. So just looking at this, we did create some standing operating procedures for, the cleaning and the ramp. There were, there's some designs that the PRTC has as far as access. We got to balance what it was intended for and beautifying it. So there are, some real, we have to keep that in mind as we go on to the project. One thing that might not be deliverable is if monsoon rains delay deliverables, notify BOT via email. You can't expect me, if there's some rain, to hop on the computer and let you guys know that we got some sediment there. If you have, if there's a concern, hey, let me know. I'll get it done. But I would just ask, if you're wondering what's realistic or not, that might not be very realistic. But we do have the SOPs, don't we, Dusty? Yeah. Yep.
So here's my take. I agree with Sean, Trustee Ives, in the fact that, say, for instance, the hotel, the Park Street, or where the guardrail is, Hotel Street, that maybe the board would like to describe what we would like done, as opposed to having Public Works do something, and then we're not happy with what's done. This type of form probably is not going to produce that. Say, for instance, there's one key element here on the retention pond about creating an access, an ingress for that pond. It's not on there. He may have already thought about it. He may do it or may not. But if that's something that we need to see, and we do because of the landscaping map, then it probably needs to be delineated on the directive as what our expectations are. So, and there's two things that are happening here. One is a request for policy and procedure, and the other is an actionable item on that. So we need to recognize those two. One, this thing's producing two things. One's a future policy procedure on how this is done. The next thing is actually getting it done. So there might need to be some interaction by the time it goes to Public Works, and they're going, well, you're right, your concept's good, but it's not practical for us to do it with the machine we've got. Say, for instance, so we need to have, a procedure policy that allows for that feedback, but at the same time not get lost and, on somebody's desk. So
yeah, we could just, be mucking it up just a bit. Just, keep it simple. Just say, hey, we want this clean. We want to keep it clean. I'll give you a policy and we'll get it done. If you want to know how we're going to get it done, I'll let you know. But,
well, now that's missing the point. We're up here saying now there are certain projects, especially if we're issuing the directive, that we got a particular way we want it done. So that's what we want to say.
Not at all.
Well,
In the past, we've had problems with information going one way and it just disappearing and not knowing what happened or what got fixed, what didn't get fixed. So the policy, or what we're trying to set forward, is a way that we can know that things are getting done, that's a process that actually happens.
yeah, absolutely. We'll put it, I'm sure you're dying to say the task list is one thing we can, put it on there. This information will go to me, and then I'll funnel it down to my employees from there. So, and give you follow-ups. And if you ever want follow-ups, just, reach out to us, and I'll be more than welcome to let you guys know how we're doing. And again, if there ever is a time where you look at the base and think, we're getting a little high, let me know.
I think what we're saying up here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we want to approve whatever the policy and procedure is. That's why we're making the directive.
And so I need some feedback from the two of you, please. I was trying to make this as general as possible, and yet, specific, so that indeed, Dusty and his crew, they're empowered to make the appropriate change, whether a ramp is needed or not needed, identifying the equipment that's needed, establishing the procedure. So I'm not trying to dictate what that is, but allow for the generality to say, but this needs to be done. So that's trying to be general. And so then we've got also the feedback that it is completed so that we both have a methodology. That we have methodology so that we know that it's doable with the methodology created.
So does it please the board to approve the policy and the procedure that's created by our town manager and Public Works?
Under the discussion item that's supporting this,
Yeah.
It sounds to me like we've got some things to sort out.
okay.
Because I think we may be going in a couple of different directions on this deal.
No, wait until we get to the guardrail issue. That's even better one to talk about.
But it's same fundamental, isn't it?
The complexity matters. I like the simplicity of a directive, but at the same time, it has to be able to address a complex matter such as the guardrail removal.
And I agree, but I don't have the skill set to say what's right and wrong. I'd like to get that feedback coming this way, saying this is the way that we can do it. And we can say, yeah, that's good.
So there's already been, FYI, there's already been
I know.
a preliminary discussion with Public
Yeah.
Works.
I just
And,
think the
yeah.
information needs to flow instead of us saying, with all the information, we can make a decision. Not just saying, okay, we need to make a decision, handing it out, and then them fulfilling it however they, it gets done. I'm just saying, that,
Yeah, I like the idea of a communication tool. Whatever that tool
the
is.
experts, I'd like to rely on experts to get expert opinions before
Yeah.
decisions are made. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, guys, just tell me what you want to see. Don't worry about the process, worry about the results, right? It's my job to worry about the process and
Well,
I'm there for
see,
the
that's why
employees.
I'm going to
get
differ
it
with
done.
you.
Okay.
I'm going to differ with you in
Yeah.
the fact that if we're establishing a procedure, a policy for the town,
Mhm.
you and going forward, that I think the board should be privileged to that process.
So I think we all want the same things. We just have different ways of getting it done. So we're all meeting at the same end. We just have different perspectives, right? So I am telling you, stop getting too specific, but you guys are wanting to get pretty specific on that.
But we've had some issues in the past with information
Yeah.
flowing.
So if we
We
could,
want to ensure that information flows back to us.
Yeah.
Not just saying, well, that's my purview, I'm taking care of it. That's great. We're all here doing the same thing,
Mhm.
but we got to make sure that we're all feeling that we're getting the information we need.
and I love that and I agree with that. So let's just focus on that piece then, right? That, hey, we want to just know that things are getting done and we'll make sure that happens.
No.
But the policy.
But I'm disagreeing with that. And I want to know what the board's pleasure is.
Please, yeah, I'd like to.
I
get a vote
want the
on this.
board to approve the guideline, the policies and procedures of this town.
Yeah, correct. The approval. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're all saying the same thing, just different ways.
I'm getting that we're saying, sounds very similar to me.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm hearing you say, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. But I want something a little more formal than that. We're asking you on this, the retention pond for a policy and a procedure for keeping it clean. Not only doing the job, but keeping it clean going forward.
Yeah, correct. I want to make sure that we're respecting responsibilities and allocations, right, that are assigned to us, right? You guys give the directives, I carry them out, right? That is essentially the responsibility. So that's all I'm trying to ensure that we have, and I know you guys want accountability. Hey, I want it too. So I want to, really get down on what Mr. Ives said and just worry about the communication piece.
Still don't answer policies and procedures.
At the end of the day, the board approves policies and procedures.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
understand that.
All right.
Okay, as far as, if we're talking format and whatnot, when I look at something like this, what I see is missing is, and I admit, I helped develop the form. But now that I've had time to think about it more, looks to me like we're missing, how does this fit into the priorities? And is there any costing involved? You know, is there a financial impact? You know, and the more I've thought about it, it's like, okay, well, okay, what about, you know, because I could see these completely, potentially going in and messing up.
Well, yeah, in the directive for the guardrail removal, it's gonna, we know a direct cost is the asphalt it's gonna take to fill in the ditch.
Yeah. And so what's the, you know, to me, if we're getting into that level of detail, you know, we need to fit this in with the priorities, because are we going to wait 2 weeks okay, just assume we have a bad monsoon season. Are we going to wait 2 weeks to open the pool, or a month to open the pool while we try to get this done? You know, the guardrail done?
Well, we
You know,
can't
we
afford to
need to
let
get-
that retention pond goes, because if it fills up that flume, it's gonna be a very expensive project to get undone.
Yeah, I don't think we're near Phil. But anyway, those are the two things that I'm seeing missing
Okay.
if we're choosing to try to go down this path. You know, after thinking about it more.
So I think I agree totally with the budgeting piece. On the first directive, the budgeting piece is minimal. It's labor. So before we jump ahead to the next one, because I know the next one is very highly problematic. It's more to create dialogue than expecting an approval. But I would like to figure out where we're going with the feedback piece on these directives, like, because I agree with Trustee Ives, and there's informal communication going on. Do you want that? And there's a box for a little bit of evaluation from Public Works.
Yeah.
Well, when I was discussing the idea of a directive, my thought process was to get some feedback on ongoing projects. Is the project progressing? Is it stalled? Is it done? That's all. That's all the information I wanted, because we in the past would say something to the town manager that we wanted done, and it just went into the ether. And I just don't want that to happen. I don't have time to hang around down here. You've got your stuff to do. It just doesn't seem like it's that much of an ask for a follow-up on projects that we have directed.
Could this be something that we could handle with the task list that's in our last discussion item? You know, in other words, we have the last discussion item is the basic ongoing task list. Is this something that can be handled there with regular reporting?
Well, also we lose out on the authority that the directive is. So if it's just becomes a discussion item, then it's not a directive.
Right. Again, it sounds like there's a desire to have the communication going back and forth. Okay, we're saying, hey, we want this done. What's a regular update? What's a regular, and not just, you know, maybe something a little bit more than just in progress. Here's how we're trying to achieve the goal. That's just a thought. Like say, directives are specific. My big concern is that they end up driving priorities and unforeseen.
That's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's a lot going on in this town. And if the board has the mind to juggle priorities depending on the circumstances, then that should be our privilege.
But as a communication piece, do we need a directive, or do we need just a better task list?
You know,
Okay,
for this particular purpose, this directive is adequate. Only thing it didn't cover that I thought maybe they should know about is, you know, creating an ingress or to accommodate the landscaping.
Which is number 3. So, to the mayor's point, it is meant to impact priorities in a positive way. Because we know beautification is slated, and we want to make sure certain things occur in the right sequence. And delegating this strictly to PRT doesn't give them authority over Public Works to direct. So I think that we do have a responsibility to help set those priorities and ensure that the manager knows what those priorities are, both from a board of directors standpoint and as well as within the projecting sequence. And the second one is similar. There is a priority setting rationale to that with respect to its completion prior to Green Box and trying to beautify the town, prior to that event. So I think we are needing to set priorities and help direct priorities. So how to get it in, do that properly, I guess is the
Yeah, I'd be concerned more with the inverse of it, where these are actually driving, where we're not working on roads or not opening the pool or something like that.
And
And
that
so
was,
it's like, okay, how do we mold that in? How do
and
we
that was
merge
in the additional considerations, which is very limited in scope right now, just to talk about monsoons. But I think your point's well made. It's like, it can't become the tail wagging the dog, right? We can't be doing this at the expense of everything else.
That's on us. We need to have the foresight of what's coming down the road, and every directive should be carefully consider those issues so that we're not, the tail's not wagging the dog with these directives.
Yeah, so,
So can we get Dusty's input?
well, right before we do, and gladly so, we got to realize that, with these directives, things take time. Let's just look at the second sheet. And I'm not saying that you can't pass the policies. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you guys won't get answers back. It's just how we do it, right? It's just, that's the key part. So when we give the directives, we got to realize it usually takes, might be a little aggressive here, but about a year of planning, or at least before that next, before we make the budget, right? So we have time to look at everything we need. And this is part of what you said, Don, of looking forward. So that way we just don't see the squirrel, right? And go run after squirrel when we're trying to do other things. So these directives are great. We're already working on these already this year. So you're going to get results, and I will give you updates. But as we start to fine tune this, let's just make sure that we need to recap this back at our time when we're doing the budget. That way we make sure we have the fiscal funds, we have the time to get it done, and all of that jazz. Dusty, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, as far as maintenance is concerned on the Stilling Basin, in the past, the board and the managers have given us pretty good freedom to take challenging opportunities and kind of get them completed in one way or another. This being no different. If it's reporting that the board wants to see, we can definitely get reporting to you. But as far as go out there tomorrow and dig with a shovel, I'm the shovel man and the wheelbarrow guy. The only thing that's limiting me is acts of God and the crew. If I'm the only person down there and the other guy's sick for the week, I can't get this done in the timely manner. So it all depends on the freedom you give us, as well as the resources I have to complete the task.
Okay, so thank you, Dusty.
Yep.
I'm going to withdraw these from the business section, both of them. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Trustee Bill, why are you withdrawing consideration of directive?
I'm getting the sense that it's not the right mechanism yet, that we're still trying to figure out an appropriate mechanism, which, I was willing to take a stab at getting this started, but what, are you, does this satisfy you? The first directive?
Yes,
01?
we chose something simple, okay? That doesn't even fix the project, because we're talking about grates, we're talking about manholes
Well, that's not
that
too-
still
Right.
need to be taken care of because they're a safety concern. This is just cleaning the scree out. It's not hard. And it was our effort to begin this directive process and because it's a priority and we want to make sure it's done by Green Box.
So number one, okay, I'm ready. Let's take a vote then on number one and see what happens. And unless you feel like I could withdraw it.
I think since it's on our agenda as a business, we need to probably go ahead and do either some kind of vote, either table or modify, approve, disapprove, whatever that may be.
I'll make a motion that we approve that first directive with one change, one add, and that is that we spec an ingress be constructed by Public Works.
Are we still open for discussion?
Yeah, I think so.
We need a second before the discussion.
I don't know. Well, I don't know if it's
Let's
really.
just discuss.
Let's just discuss.
What happened? Go ahead.
There can be a
Let's have
motion.
it.
There can be a motion and then a discussion before the second.
Yeah.
So I was not here on the 6th. And so I wasn't involved in what you discussed for the directive format. And I thank you, Trustee Bell, for the effort that you put into this. But I agree, I don't think it's the right vehicle for this. I'd hate to see a written directive for every instruction given to our town manager.
That's not the case.
Excuse me, let me finish. When we have discussed before about the items and tasks, not getting feedback on them, it was a communication issue. And that has not been solved. And what you mentioned about we can always ask you how things are going. I don't want to ask you. I want to know what's going on. I want that information available, whether it's with progress reports, emails, whatever, but it all falls under communication. That's all I have.
Okay.
It feels like we should have had a meeting about this to try
Yeah,
to flesh it out
I'm kind of thinking
between all of us.
maybe a work session.
Yeah, I think that'd probably be a good way. to
Yeah.
go.
Well, just this was never meant to be an instruction by instruction. Just wanted to let you know, this is just priorities that would come up from time to time that the board deemed needed to get done and take a priority over other things that were going on.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Not going to second my item.
Okay. Since there's no second, the motion fails. I'm gonna maybe move that we take these up as in a work session.
I accept that.
Both
Items. Yes.
items in a work session.
I think it might be best, yeah.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we table these items and meet and discuss them in both the Stilling Basin and the guardrail in an upcoming work session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, our next item, Park Rec and Trails Advisory memos to the Board of Trustees.
Jesse Stroop, 10770 Florence Avenue, representing Parks, Rec, Trails Advisory Committee. We have 3 advice memos that I want to talk about tonight, and one of them involves the Stilling Basin or Hotel Park. And I was going to stay pretty high level on that one, but I think based on what just happened, I'll talk a little bit more about it. If we could go to the slide that has the drawing or the rendering. Oh, so you have hard copies there. And I have an extra if anyone wants it in the audience. So I'm going to just walk you through the plan. Starting in the top left-hand corner is a sidewalk that extends over into Gazebo Park. And I'll work my way down the left-hand side of the page. There's a new trail that is put in, and there are 4 benches that are memorials that were provided by the community prior, and they'd like to have those remain. And that trail comes up to Hotel Avenue, and you see a mass planting there. Moving to the right and around the perimeter of Hotel Park, you'll see that there is drawn in an access ramp and space that we were told by Public Works that they needed to be able to access to do a clean out. We started public engagement about this project 24 months ago and really got hit hard by residents who feel like they got this thing shoved down their throat. And they continue to talk about this when they see me on the street. We had 3 communications about this and a lot of good public input. First meeting, I believe you were there, Dusty. I know Manager Frank was there. And the first thing we asked about was where the access needed to be. So we've provided that in this drawing. Continuing down to the corner, there's a stop sign. Then there's a new path that would be like a sidewalk that goes from the stop sign down to where the new sidewalk would be. To do that, we're going to have to do a pretty substantial retaining wall, and we would be using the pink limestone or Manitou pink stone that used to be around Gazebo Island and is currently being stored behind Town Hall. Any questions about that, or should I go into the budget?
I do have a question on
Please.
the access. Was there any discussion on what that may be? Is it intended to be millings? Is it intended to be something more substantial?
I will tell you, I do not know.
Okay.
Parks, Recs, and Trails has been adamant that we plan the beautification of the park and that we leave access and structural to the town.
Okay, I was just curious if it had come up. I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, we haven't, we did not even entertain those discussions because it was slowing down the process, honestly.
So Jesse, I had a question about the 4-inch curb. Is there a concrete curb? Is that on the street side or the wall side? I think that PRT was original idea, but it eventually got left behind because of the problems that the curb on the street side would cause for snow plowing.
I don't know the answer to that question either, Don.
Okay.
What I'm looking for tonight, honestly, is to get approval of this concept plan and the ability to fundraise for the project. If we're going to put in a sidewalk, with the help of the town manager, we'll look at what does DOT say that we need to have there, for a proper sidewalk. That may increase what we have to do for fundraising, but there are things that we can do almost immediately. So a couple of thank yous. Carla Chapman is a landscape architect. She has done this pro bono for the town. and she's done the drawings for us. And the mayor and trustee Walker and Public Works, we've been waiting for about 12 months to find out if there was water at the park. And so, through their leadership last month, they went out and moved one of these boulders and found that the water's there. So the project's been waiting a long time. That's my point. What could we do immediately knowing that there's water there? One of the biggest complaints from the community is the amount of dust that blows off of that. So the first thing that we would do would be to have a contractor come out, remove the weeds, and hydroseed the entire basin. That's a $2,500 expense, and we have $5,400 of the fundraising already done because those monies remain in a PPRTA from the original Stilly Basin project. So that's something that we could immediately do and see some results quickly. Other things that we could do near immediately, the Friends That You Pass Trails has volunteered to build the new trail that goes from the side crosswalk over to Hotel Street. That's something that we could be doing near immediately. And then as we fundraise, we can do these plantings, and even if it's incremental process, it's something. And it's something that the community really has asked for through these community engagements that we've been doing. So I would ask that you approve this concept along with the ability for us to fundraise as needed to accomplish these tasks.
Okay, trustees, any further questions? You know, I had to look up the code because originally I thought the committees did not need to have board approval to go out and fundraise. And yes, it actually does say you got to have, it says something like as approved by the board. And so, yeah, I believe it's in the code that they have to ask for permission to fundraise.
Well, on my time here on the board, there have been 2 events that I did not actually go out and look. One was the guardrail, and the second one was the handicap improvement at the park. The wheelchair path is very narrow. So can you tell me what a 4-foot sidewalk and a 4-foot footpath would accommodate? One person? Both ways? 2 people? Is it wide enough?
It's a good question. And we're restricted by the infrastructure of the Stilling Basin. So to do this, we're going to have to cut into the embankment of the Stilling Basin. And that is as far as the contractor thought that we could cut in without interfering with the structure.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, trustees, any other questions, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the concept and approve the fundraising. We can do it all as one.
Let's just split those up. No, go ahead. So I'm going to move that we approve both the concept as presented for the renovation or beautification of Hotel Park, as well as the request for fundraising to provide funds for that beautification.
I'll go ahead and second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the concept and the fundraising for the beautification of Hotel Park. All in favor, say aye.
Could I ask a clarifying question before you vote?
Yes.
Does that, assuming that this motion passes, would that give us the ability to pay and play or to start work as we have funding?
I kind of assume so. You know, if we're approving the concept, and once we were basically approved the plan, then it's like go. At least that's my thought.
I agree. Jesse, is that town funding or fundraising funding?
It would be either or. We know that there are, Town Manager Patterson confirmed that there's $5,100 remaining in the PPRTA funding for the Stilling Basin project that was specific to.
Do you know where
to
that
improve
is in the
Uh,
budget?
Right now, it's reimbursable. So we spend it, we get reimbursed from PPRTA.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I agree that you're not required to collect all $35,000 before starting work. That,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be.
Okay, so moved and seconded that we approve the plan, approved fundraising, and they can start work as they raise funds and whatnot. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Second advice memo from it is about the Leave No Trace partnership with Ute Pass Elementary. And we have designed some signage and fishing line receptacles for the lake. And Miles Groth with Ute Pass Elementary is on Zoom, and I think he would like to talk to you about that.
Hello, my name's Miles Groth. I'm a teacher at Ute Pass Elementary. I've been there for 11 years. I've been working with PRT to kind of come up with some new and revitalized signage. I assume everyone has the memo. Should I read that or give a quick summary? What would be preferable?
Summary, Miles, please.
Sure. So we have come up with a design, and there's attached samples of the picture of one that is currently installed in Colorado, and then of our specific design. But it's 3 new fishing line receptacles, and they'll have updated signage that include Colorado Parks and Wildlife guidelines and rules, as well as some Gazebo Lake specific expectations. And they will also include some PVC pipe receptacles for safe and proper disposal of fishing line. And our proposal includes a budget for these posts, signs, PVC pipe. The install doesn't have an additional cost or budget. It also includes the locations, the 3 locations around Gazebo Lake. And I think those were the main points that I needed to make about that. The final thing was that our hope is on May 9th, our 6th graders work with Trout Unlimited volunteers to learn how to fly fish on May 9th. But to have that day both be a learning day where students are fishing, and they are also giving back and being stewards to the community by helping install those 3 signs and the fishing line receptacles that day as well. Is there anything I can give some more detail or answer more questions about?
Okay, trustees, questions, comments? And the ask from the town is you want to use funds available from our wayfinding of $1,000, $1,007, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain.
What is our wayfinded signage budget? I don't know what that is, where it is.
It's replacement of those.
Do we have a wayfindage signage line item?
We don't have a wayfinding signage line let me look into that and I'll have to report back to you guys next month. I'll be in direct contact with you. And if we have the funding, if you guys approve it, I'll make sure it gets done. And if we don't have that funding, I'll make sure to reach back out and we'll have an agenda next month.
That doesn't answer the question, though. Do we have it in a budget item or not?
I'd have to look, sir. I don't have the budget in front of me.
Based on some recent history, could you please report back to us specifically? And when is the need for these funds?
We would need to have the signage produced and ready to be installed on May 9th in order to meet the timeline for the elementary school.
Could we get an answer? Could you have an email answer to us within a week?
Absolutely, yes.
And Mayor, then could we organize how we get those funds approved in response to that answer? Whether it's email or however you want to create the mechanism so that we're not holding up the project.
Could do a contingency.
Could do a contingency approval based upon getting the email back saying the funds have been verified to be there and under what line item they're under.
We have some recent history. So, Trustee Walker, would you like to approve that? Would you like to motion that?
No.
I can. I can move that we approve the funding request for the signage and the fishing line containers contingent upon verification that we have funds already available and identified.
Can we be specific to say wayfinding signage? Because that's what's.
I'm not sure what budget line item it would be under.
All right.
It may be included under like a Parks, Rec and Trails budget or something like that. Or it may be still under capital improvements. So we would need
I
to
think you're
verify.
exactly right, and it is.
I think it's
in the
under
parks.
capital improvements.
Yeah, that may be too.
What'd you say, Bo?
I think it is grouped into something in either parks or capital improvements. So.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the funding request for the signage and the fishing line containers, contingent upon verification of funds. All in favor, say aye.
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 Is there any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, 4-1. And email, please, as soon as you find out.
Absolutely.
Finally, as our third advice memo for the evening, it should be easy. It's a grant application for a grant. The gazebo is listed on the historic register and is eligible to receive funding through the state. They have a pretty stringent process to apply for that funding. So there's a $15,000 grant which supports an architectural study and assessment of the gazebo, and the findings from that go on then for eligibility. So if we were awarded the $15,000 grant, the town would have a 10% buy-in on that, or $1,500. And Trustee Walker has volunteered to write that grant application.
Trustees, any questions, comments? The only comment I was, we have, a board member can help write it, but it's still got to be coordinated with the manager. So, because things have to go through the town.
And so, in what capacity?
it would have to be coordinated, and the town manager may have to be the one to actually do the actual formal submittal. But things have to be coordinated with town manager to make sure we get things.
Hasn't always been done that way.
Ones
Environmental
I've-
Mitigation Committee did their own.
I would still want it coordinated personally with the town manager.
Okay, fine.
And I would actually so move.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
It's like, I'm going to hold myself to the fire because I want to do this. And not only is there this available, but the next step, if this was granted, would be a planning grant on the same basis, 15,000, 1,500 matching. But we've got to have money. Where are we going to spot the 1,500?
Look, I kind of agree with you on this one, Don. Look, throughout this whole meeting, right, we've created directives and funding requests without any proper planning. I am all for supporting every committee. I am all for getting what, we need to get done. We don't even know what, we have all these grants we're applying for. We have all these directives. We have committees, departments. They all want everything. And we just can't keep saying yes on a whim. And I apologize. I love you, Jesse. I love your group. I love how much time and energy you guys give to the town. I want to say yes to this, but I can't say yes right now because I don't know how much money we're even going to be spending next year until I sit down with every single department and get this information of what we want next year. So if you guys want a recommendation for me to give 10%, I mean, 1,500 is not much. Yeah, I'll give 1,500, but before we, go further and, ask for more without the proper planning, that answer would be no then. So I could do, we can do, 1,500, but before we, go throughout the rest of this year and just start accepting more, we just have to be a little careful is all. Thank you. And I apologize for my discourse. Thank you all.
Now, I'm about, financial responsibility, fiduciary responsibility. And if we should have a line item in our budget that is set aside for matching grants. And if we don't have that, then we've got to go to our reserve. We've got to back out where that money would come from and not, another line item pigeonholing in the budget. So I would love for the town to put up the $1,500, but we need to decide where that money will come from.
And personally, I know we have plenty of reserves to be able to handle that. I'm okay with pulling it out of reserves if we need. 1,500 with the reserves that we have. We're averaging what, 400 to 600,000 in our reserves.
Yeah. Again, I want to reiterate that the 1,500 is fine, right? Just a little sum of money, but before we, continue on through the year, just all of a sudden getting a request and approving it, we just might want to take our time and slow down is all. Thank you.
Well, yeah, and we should probably have those discussions before the packet's put together and, right? Kind of doing it in the wrong order here, so.
Look, it's not easy to fill out these applications. It takes a lot of time and effort. And, if the town can't find its way to, for $1,500, I'm not going to do it.
I'm pretty sure we'll find the money.
Just need a motion.
Okay, I'm going to restate the motion. I'm going to move to approve the request to apply for the HSA grant with the funds coming out of reserves if needed.
Can I make an addition to that?
Amend it?
An amendment to your motion. I would like going forward to have a line item in our 2025 budget and spec that out for the rest of the year. So we're not dipping into our savings for these little items. If the board is willing.
Can you clarify that? I want to make sure I understand what the request is.
I'd like to, we need to make amendments to our current budget as it stands today.
Okay.
I would like this to be an additional amendment to our budget for future grants, matching grants.
So, so my reason for the specificity is, so when you want to amend this to the current, so we're adding a line item for this, or are we following the mayor's recommendation of putting this against reserve? Yours is, yeah.
He's suggesting an amendment to the motion to add that we also identify a line item for grant matching in our budget.
We take it from the reserve tonight. Going forward, we develop a line item in our budget
Okay.
for that
I
item.
can second that.
Yeah, we could split those up, but it's kind of like why it all comes out in the wash anyway. So I'm agreeable to the amendment. I see Trustee King shaking her head.
Well, we normally would look at budget funds to see where there's extra. And then we decide where that goes. So you're saying that we need to move it into a line item and then decide what's going to happen to it?
I think it's going forward. This one would be to pull from reserves if needed, but then going forward, really probably should have been an independent item, but we actually create a line item for basically grant matching within our budget.
So you're going to be moving fund. And that's agreeable?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So we'll be voting on it twice. First moving it over to the new line item. And then once it gets in there, we vote on how it's going to be used.
Yeah, that's correct process. Yes. I mean, that's what we've been kind of talking about, at least in what I think we've been.
And I'm thinking about the mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, we have, was that a second with the amendment?
What?
When you made the amendment, was that a second with the amendment? Because I concur with.
I will make it a second with that amendment.
I concur with the amendment. So it'd be, we have a motion and a second to approve the request to apply for the historic structure assessment with the funds initially coming out of reserves, but then also add in the future a specific line item or to capture funds for grant matching. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
I'll oppose it.
Okay,
It's just not being done correctly.
I understand. 4-1.
Footnote on that item, I'd like to invite the historic team up here for a site visit, if that's acceptable to the board and to the admin. Okay, it's
Who's that?
It's the state
Okay.
architects.
Yeah, they have to sign off anyway, don't they?
Yes, and it's just part of their.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I want to add that if that motion had been split in two, I would have approved the HSA, the PRTAC. But you got to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Okay, understood. Okay, thanks, Jesse. Our next item is our item 6G, our fee schedule.
Okay, so this thing is a lot shorter than our 2024 fee schedule. Like here, we just referenced all model traffic code. So while it's shorter pages, it's actually expanded. We can charge for in some areas. A couple of these things just revert to the state fee, like liquor licensing and whatnot, Quora requests, notary services. A lot of it's unchanged, court costs and whatnot. The controversial part was the land use and planning stuff. A lot of back and forth, and this was the consensus that kind of got to between your input and the town manager's input. Fireworks sales are in here. It's actually in our municipal code. And so this corresponds with everything in the municipal code. And so we would have to do an ordinance to pull, like, ban fireworks sales
Yeah.
to really pull it off
Problem
of here.
In the past, we've had like civic-minded people come forward to sponsor community, fireworks presentations.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we stopped doing big fireworks a long time ago. But we have had it come up where that stuff has happened, so. I mean, it's not gonna change anything, it being in there. We still approve or disapprove, right?
Yeah, right. You would still have a chance to not approve, that permit when it came up, so. I was pushing for much higher fees. We did have public comment in the town hall meeting before this meeting from Shelley, Scott, Nash, about increasing these fees, and like our land use administration, like permitting administration, was really expensive last year. Caleb and I went through some itemized bills that we got from Baseline, and it was amazing. Some of these things we charged like $125, and the town paid thousands of dollars for, so that's going to improve some now that we're doing that. Now that we're doing that in-house, but it's still, these fees still don't cover our expenses, and it's a raging debate how much of the actual cost should be recouped
I
by
do have a
fees.
question on 12-53 minor site plan review. It says see below. What's that? Because right now it's like $125, and I can tell you firsthand, if we don't have any issues with variances or anything like that, it's a no-brainer. 12-53.
Gotcha. Conditional use permit.
No, it says minor site plan review under zoning and architectural review.
Sure. So the minor site plan,
350.
yeah, the minor site plan review is one of those itemized items below that. So it's either a sign, a fence, a retaining wall, a deck, or a change in use. And that's the corresponding fee beneath that. But I could clarify that piece.
Okay, just even a more solid line
Right.
below that would help. I just wanted to clarify that C below.
So I see what you're talking about now. The first line, 1253, is minor site plan review, see below. And then you go down below, there's a 1253 conditional use permit.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Sign, fence, deck. I've got mixed feelings,
We all do.
What's your feeling?
Okay, so I'm assisting town staff with some of these, just for full disclosure. And like some of these, like we just did a deck, and it was literally, okay, you sent me the wrong site plan. Send me the site plan. You pick it up and it's obvious it meets the setbacks. Obvious. Call the guy up. You got a verbal. We go into Pikes Peak Regional Building. We approve it. Oof. Done. They're using man-made materials, so it meets the fire. And it's that quick. As long as we don't have like a variance request to go along with it, or if they're trying to build a deck in the setback or something like that, he's saying, the decks and the fences are quick. or they can be quick. And so, you know, okay, $400 for another $400 for a fence. Retaining wall, 500, that's only over 4 foot, because anything below 4 foot, regional building doesn't touch. Deck's an additional $500. You know, and the way the deck codes read is I think it's something like substantial improvement. And substantial basically means anything over 50%. So if someone's going in and replacing 50% of their deck boards, they're going to get hit with an additional $500. And so it's one of those things where, like I say, I have mixed feelings about that, because we really, if there's not something, what I call weird about the project, it's quick. It doesn't take that much time. I was perfectly good with $125 for the minor site plan. Now, if we need to increase it to 150, okay. But like I say, unless there's something strange about the project, these minors can go really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. We're here to serve you guys. So if you guys would all, like to put that into a vote or talk about the price, let us know and we'll adjust.
Mr. Mayor, how would you feel about taking that home and kind of putting your feeling on the numbers for us to review again?
I can tell you right now, I'd be okay with just saying 12-53 minor site plan review, $150, and basically strike out sign, fence, retaining wall, deck, all those independent items, because it's all minor site plan. With the exception of, I see change in use. That needs to come in front of the board in some cases. So I'd leave that one. Everything else.
Okay.
And you did say 150.
Yeah.
Currently it's 125.
Currently it's 120.
To go up a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, we could probably bump that up a little.
What about the variance fees and the major site plan at 120 a square foot? By the way, I called Teller County and, just kind of shooting from the hip. Hey,
Okay.
what are you guys going to charge?
So $1.20 per square foot of the entire site, or the modification,
That's a good question. I think it was intended to be the building, the modification.
the actual building itself?
Yeah.
Maybe important information.
I don't.
Yeah, I can elaborate in there to, specify that.
Yeah, we probably should elaborate. Major site plans do require more effort. So yeah, if it's a 500 square foot, you're up over $500. Trying to think if there's anything that wouldn't quite fit a square footage into a major site plan.
Right now, a major site plan is $750 flat fee.
Yeah.
So like a new construction of a whole house was $750.
Yeah. And a 2,000 square foot house is going to be a couple $1,000s. Is that too much? I do know of some activity in that.
That 1.2 figure is actually pretty low compared to the surrounding counties.
Okay.
Even when you include PPRBD in there. So.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a good feel for that one. That I'd be okay with $1.20 a square foot, as long as it's something where we can actually identify the square footage.
So it needs to be spec'd on there too, so there's no ambiguity.
Yeah.
So I need a clarification on the fireworks sales license. When that was being discussed, it was mentioned about folks wanting to put on a show. But this reads to me as if a vendor wants to sell fireworks. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do have that in our code, and it's eligible for a business license as well right now.
Okay. So we're not approving someone putting a show on by the lake. This is just for a vendor.
Yeah, I think that would be a special events license that would come before you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is in the municipal code, allowing it. But personally, and I know that my neighbors would not want it to happen. Is there a limit or a price point for the 500?
That's a great idea. For any of these, we can charge up to $2,650. $2,650.
Deter a vendor.
Well, I think so.
Oh, yeah. I'm kind of wondering if we just look at doing a code amendment to basically just outlaw fireworks unless it's basically a commercial item. Someone comes in, wants to shoot fireworks off over the lake and we have a wet year, maybe. But that's kind of what I'm wondering. So I would almost say, slide this one. And to me, I think it'd probably be worthwhile to reevaluate our code for fireworks.
Can it be removed?
That's a good question.
I should not remove anything that is in the code, but what we could do is increase it to 2,650 pending board action. It would be an ordinance to amend municipal code to ban, you could prohibit the possession, sale, and use of fireworks or something like that.
I would be in favor of that in order to deter a vendor until it can be rewritten.
So would the marshal.
So
Then I also have a question about facilities use on the last page. How do you define a day at the gazebo? Is it 24 hours?
No, I pictured it being like an 8-hour day, and I think we should elaborate on that too. I think
That
that's a
should
good
be
question.
Let's clarify that.
Specified.
Yeah.
Especially with the beginning time and the ending time.
Yeah.
So there's two entries that refer to day.
8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
What would you, 12 hours, 8 hours?
I'd say 8.
You don't want to give anyone 8 hours because then they choose when it starts and when it ends.
Right.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a starting time and an ending time, and you can have your hours within
Business
that
hours.
time.
And we can put that into the permit, can't we? Or the slate. What they call up to fill out to reserve it.
Application?
The application.
Doesn't the town have quiet hours before 7 a.m. and after
Yes.
10
Yeah,
p.m.?
but I think
7 to 10.
I think I'd want some buffer personally.
Could we let them choose an 8-hour period within our, like, outside the quiet hours? So like, if you're doing an evening event at the pool or something like that, you could do it, but it would have to wrap up by 10, and you could still have 8 hours.
Well, I didn't think, I was thinking gazebo more than I was like an after hours pool party.
Right. Town hall is also a facility, ostensibly we could be renting town hall for an event that could go on till 10 or something like
And that'd be
that.
part of the application.
Well, you can have flexibility, right? We
Yeah.
got quiet hours, 7 to 10. Their 8 hours has to be within
Right.
7 to 10, whatever 8 hours they pick, they can have it.
We good with that? Yeah, okay.
Good, that's good, okay. That was good, thank you for that.
And I'm kind of thinking with the changes, I'd like to see this in writing again. Personally.
Yeah, so can we table this until they get it the rewrite and then we'll look at it next meeting?
I'd like to see it actually rewritten.
That's a great idea. I have one other idea. We put a year on these. This is actually a change that I already made that I should point out. And like, here we are, we're through the first quarter and, we're still on the 2024 fee schedule. And so I'd like to suggest that we remove, the year and the titling and just in the footer, I wrote in here, like when it was last approved so that we know what version we're currently working
yeah.
on. Is that okay?
Totally agree with that. That way we're not charged, people look at, hey, wait, is this 2024 or 2023 or 20? Yeah, I like that idea.
And maybe next year we're fine with it and there's no changes and we can just keep going. Okay.
I'm hoping that we table this till next meeting and review it with the aforesaid changes.
Okay, I'll second that. It's been moving to say that we table our fee schedule until our next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Purchasing column, do I have? Our agenda has purchasing policy. Should that have been excavation? The number is the same way, but I think I should have read excavation. Yeah.
I thought I thought the town lawyer said that the resolution had to be an ordinance. Oh, that's the purchasing policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but resolution, that would have been 2025-04 seems to have fallen off. Let me see if it's somewhere else in here.
Can I just move to table this?
Yeah, that's
ordinance
got to be
till
tabled
next
because
meeting?
it's not on our agenda. I mean,
Yeah,
2025,
sorry about that.
2025-03 is the excavation, right?
Well, but that's not in the packet. So
And it's
the
not in the packet.
document didn't make it in the packet. It is on the agenda, but we do have to table it because it's not in the packet.
Yeah.
Did you take a vote? Was that a unanimous table?
It's not on our agenda. It's the wrong number. The number on our agenda is 2025-03, but it's got the wrong title to it. And what's on our title is the excavation.
No, yeah, I got you. So
Yeah. But Trustee
So-
Walker said we need to table this. We agreed, but we didn't vote on it.
right.
So
Well, not the purchasing policy. We don't have the purchasing policy here.
So
I'm kind of thinking we table them both.
Yeah,
because we didn't, it wasn't posted. We had an error in posting.
Yeah, the docs got swapped. Yeah,
And I think
that's what we have to do.
table them both. And so this also move. I have a second.
second.
It's been moved to second. We table the ordinance 2025-03. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. We got next. We then move into our remaining discussion item, which is the ongoing task list. I'll let you guys present that. I do see one that is complete, and that's our zoning map.
Hey, Dusty, while we have you here, could I trouble you for an update on the parking signage? Like park here, no parking here? Is that on the radar?
Yeah, about the no parking signage, I guess it's one of those things, a communication item that slipped through the cracks. So, I have the ability to make signs and install signs. We do have signs posted in at least one location in troublesome hiker parking spots on some of our trailhead areas. And that's about the extent of what I have.
Yeah, I was thinking we were also looking at having parking signs, like those blue E signs that you see in other towns. And so I'd like to maybe change this to no parking / parking signage.
Yeah, that's what I remember too, like where we left it off, so.
And then, yeah, as far as, I think I'd like to see a little bit, personally, I'd like to see a little bit more detail other than just in progress. I'd kind of like to see where are we really at and if there's anything that's causing a roadblock.
Yeah, sure thing. I started to elaborate more on these notes. So like this item, Caleb and I got with Jeff Parker a little bit on this, and it's tricky. Our new land use code has kind of changed the titling to temporary use permits, but we still have some revocable permits. I actually found record of 7, maybe it was 8, that were board approved, and we need to get with those people and change those to an easement in a lot of cases that's permanent. So it's kind of a bigger project, but I started to put more notes in here and just still leaving this category like it is. I also want to add a column on the end here, like owner, like whose pet project is this, and give it a little bit of ownership. If you guys think that's something that would be helpful.
I really think that'll help with at least get us a start on the communications piece.
I've got a question on staging policy. So last time this was presented, there was a request for the scorecard that I had been keeping, maintaining. I provided that to you. And where we stand on the next steps with that scorecard, who's going to maintain it? Will it continue to be maintained? Does it continue to hold value? Its value for me is long-term, being able to demonstrate to residents that indeed we are rotating staging, that their area, the Olathe is not the area picked on routinely, consistently. And then it also gives visibility for piles that are there, many months in a row. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Still working on that. What I'll probably end up doing is make a policy and that policy will accompany all construction documents. And anytime a contractor comes in, they'll have to abide by that staging policy. But let me run it over some more with Jeff just to see what he thinks. But I'll absolutely make sure that gets on there and give you guys a better wording than just in progress. So.
And specifically, the scorecard, whether or not it's a tool that will continue to be used or not used. And who's going to maintain that scorecard.
I've got a guardrail update too. We did start looking into alternatives and what else we can do to that. And there is a driveway across the road from the guardrail that exists completely in the right of way. Like, I don't think any part of it is actually on that property. And dealing with that is going to have to be some part of the solution to properly widen that road. So I did make a note on here that that needs to go to legal too. So
It does need to go
put
to
that on the
legal.
list. Oh, you did? Yeah.
That's one where, when we had the engineer here, he said, be prepared legally. And I've had enough communication with the owner that know that they would very much oppose us reclaiming the right of way.
It's going to be controversial. I could do it on my last day. Remember that?
You know, since it's likely that ditch will be filled in, then that driveway is not going to be such a barrier.
Yeah, it's another option. I mean, if you're really looking to widen, I mean, a lot of that was put in. As far as I can tell, there's no easement. There may be, but because I had early communications with him like a couple of years ago.
Right.
And the owner was very much opposed to us trying to reclaim the right of way. I think we have every right to reclaim it. But if it's going to cost a huge legal battle versus, again, filling in part of the ditch with cold patch.
Well, we're going to go, I mean, conceivably, we would go back to curb drainage. So the driveway as it exists is not such an obstacle in creating a ditch and a drainage.
Yeah, it would basically take it back to more the way it was before the work was done.
Just looking at it, I'm sorry.
It won't be as wide because obviously we got this much concrete in there going all the way down. But
well, it's going to be filled with asphalt, so it'll be drivable.
You still got a lip in front of the rock wall.
I just.
And it's not much, but you still got to have a little bit of a lip.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do have a quick addition on the guardrail issue. It would be good to have everybody sit down and maybe get all our ideas into one pot and pull one stew out of it, make one pot of stew. So we're not going backwards on anything. Everybody's happy with it. Like I said, I don't want to do anything out there that's going to adversely affect a resident, their property, our right of ways, or our relationships.
To me, this is something that could be a real good work session item between us, Public Works, whoever else needs to be there.
Yeah, a site visit was also be very helpful in gaining vision as to what's going to happen.
I foresee too, trying to reclaim the right of way on the east side of Park Avenue. The asphalt, their driveway extends to the asphalt. There wouldn't be too much of a reason to take away their driveway unless we had the idea of making a true 2-lane up and down thoroughfare on Park Avenue. And in doing so, you'd be cutting into everybody's front yard and porch as well.
Yeah.
Going up that way.
I suspect if we can kind of get it back to more the way it was closer to the way it was before the modification, I think people would appreciate it.
Absolutely.
At a preliminary look, it looked like you could just kind of reclaim a few feet of that driveway in conjunction with expanding the road, kind of how it was before the guardrail. And that would leave a parking spot on that, that driveway would still be a parking spot, off-road parking. And maybe we could offer a free easement to that resident and kind of make it legal, make it official, and fix the road in one fell swoop. But this is all looking at like an overview and trying to draw lines. So, there's like it says it's accurate to plus or minus 5 feet, which is like half of the space we're talking about. So I don't know, until we really go out there with a tape measure, That's hard to say. But if you do go make a site visit, there's like a retaining wall in that yard. And it seems that if we reclaim the right of way to that retaining wall and left that, that would suffice to fix the road.
Can we just have a work session? Unless we got more than 2 trustees that want to do a site visit, can we have a work session and then go out?
Oh, yeah.
Start and look at it?
Yeah, we could do
Okay.
a work session, and that might be better to have a work session maybe on a different day, because if we're having to go here and then go out to the site and then come back here for a board meeting,
Yeah.
that might be kind of cumbersome. So we
It
might
would be.
schedule just a separate work session to just work, some of these items through and whatnot. Okay. Any more items on the task list?
Well, I'd like to ask, does this task list encompass things that have not been done? The things that sort of just got pushed aside?
My opinion, I think we need to, if there's items that have fallen off the list, we need to get them back on the list.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned rolling chairs at one meeting,
true, that
for
was,
example.
the Marshall's suggestion.
Yeah,
Also, since the parking area on El Paso Avenue, where the railroad ties were removed, 2018, they have not been put back, and the parking has not been put back.
Do you reiterate that one more time? We have parking
El
ties.
Paso Avenue.
I know
Mhm.
where it's at.
parking,
I know where it's across the street from your place. Yeah, I know where it's at.
Okay.
Yep.
No, the roadway on
Yeah,
the creek side
it's right by Fountain Creek. There's actually there's actually a parking area.
for 11
Is
cars.
historic buy that property?
No,
No, that's town property right there. It's
Yeah, I know where it is. I knew it was town property. I knew it was parking. And the reason why I thought it was changed is I thought the property sold. I thought he traded
no.
land.
no, it's ours.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
As they come to mind, I'll look back through old notes.
Yeah, we need
Who
there's been a handful over the years that have just
just
dropped.
disappeared.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any more items? Final item, okay, not final item. Our next item is the SOP for the basin. And that was basically just correspondence. Since it's correspondence, I would probably say if you have comments, write them up and get them to town staff.
And who did this? Who made it?
Public Works.
Oh,
I
okay.
think. Didn't Public Works do it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah.
for, it looks good. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And does a structure need to be, anything need to be modified to get the equipment that's listed here, down there?
You're talking about on the designs?
Right.
I briefly looked over the designs. If there's something to change, I'll be talking with Jesse. But there's enough right of way as far as materials that the machines are going over, right? If there's loose rock or stuff like that, we'll talk about fine details.
Was that question in regards to an ingress? And what's the intent, to build something permanent or just scrape it?
Go ahead, Dusty.
I might have an answer. I did look over the site plan. Jesse did have just, about an hour ago. Doesn't look like, as long, if we're looking for a ramp, it shouldn't be an issue where we're getting into, as long as he's not putting bushes, around. I know there's a, gas meter there. As long as we can get around the gas meter and down into the pit and then back over with a backhoe, skid loader, excavator, we should be good. I don't see the need of any concrete slab or any asphalt. We'll just need to clean up, back drag, and smooth up our work after we there's gonna be a little erosion problems where we bring equipment in, and that's gonna be a thing. But
That's
we are
what
to
we,
clean that up.
well, that's what we want to try to avoid.
Well, then we're gonna-
Because it's all going to be grass, and the concept would be having a drive that's not grass, so it can be easily maintained.
Well, long term, we're gonna have to pour concrete pad. Short term, we're gonna have to lay some asphalt.
And that's just to get down to the bottom of the,
If you don't want erosion, where our tracked machines are gonna go, yeah.
well, we could crib it. There's other alternatives to manage the erosion.
Yeah.
And if it's only going to be used, 4 times a year,
Maybe once a year.
maybe once a year. Yeah.
Once a year is probably the realistic.
Would you be coming in from the backside or or directly from Park?
With that, I'd be going in off of Hotel Street, Park Avenue.
Yeah, direct, not necessarily, where the shallower end is or the less elevated, the incline is on the backside. So can you come straight in? Is the elevation much to come straight in from Park?
Coming down
From Park to the bottom of the pit?
without having a map.
Look, we're getting, wait,
In the weeds.
That's not his.
yeah, we're getting in the weeds. We have the designs, we'll roll with the designs. Like you said, unless we pour concrete pad, there's going to be erosion. It's a heavy machinery. If there's some modifications that need to be made, we'll let you guys know. But
Yeah.
right
I'd
now,
ac-
we'll roll with the
I'd
design.
actually propose a work session on tax day, the 15th.
For this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And can everyone start at 6? For the whole thing? Okay. Can the remainder start at 6
Yes.
on the 15th? Okay, let's schedule a work session for the 15th, 6 PM. Please include Public Works. And it would be for Stilling Basin and the guardrail.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, any more items on the Stilling Basin? If not, we're to our second public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience? Anyone on Teams? Yeah.
I didn't plan to say anything, but there were 2 people here at the meeting that left, but I had invited. One was Tim Galvin, who is very knowledgeable about the town and cesspools, and he knows Kat McGarvey, and they've worked together, hiked all over the place. And the other fellow with him, I can't remember his name, but he's a surveyor. And they were talking about, just property lines, as we all know. And I would just like for the town to encourage maybe even both of those men to come and meet with you. They have ideas, they know the town, they understand property lines. We've talked about a town survey. They even had kind of an idea about how they could get the prices down, or I really don't know. I mentioned to them they might like to talk to Jesse. I just thought I'd bring that up to you. They were here, but they left because the meeting, went so long, but that's okay. So thank you.
Okay, you said you invited them. Could you give their contact information to town staff?
Yeah, I'll give you Tim's, and I can't remember the other man's name, but they both live in Woodland, they're close. So is that all right that I said that? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone on Teams?
Not seeing anything coming in from Teams.
Okay, so final item, I'm going to move, we go into executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-402F for the purpose of personnel matters, specifically to evaluate and perform employee evaluation for the town manager and other employee matters. And I really need to take a break of about 10 minutes. So we'll reconvene roughly 10 minutes. Let's convene at 10 till. And thank you for the public. Initially, it'll just be board. I'll ask the town manager and maybe even clerk to hang on. Thank you. Oh, I need a second. We need to move. It's been moved and seconded. We go into executive session for the above stated items. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.